Hello, and thank you all for joining me on this episode of Rudd's Room. Uh, as you may know, I am Brandon Rudd. I'm one of the bastards of politics. I've recently started adding content to this channel. This one, these next videos I'm going to be doing should be a series, and they will be related to legislative updates in District 33. So my last video, I talked about how to use the Indiana General Assembly webpage to look up pieces of legislation. In this video, I'm going to be going over legislation that's been put forward by District 33 Representative JD Prescott. So if you are interested in that, please like, subscribe, comment if you have questions or suggestions. Click the bell for reminders. I'll be trying to do these as there are any significant updates to any pieces of legislation. The reason I'm doing this video series is Representative Prescott. I've been trying to get a hold of him to ask him to hold a legislative update or town hall, third house meeting, whatever you want to call it, to kind of update the citizens of the district on what is going on. I've emailed him, I think, 3 or 4 times now, tried to contact him, asking if he could please let me know when he was going to be holding a town hall, if he is going to be holding a town hall, if he is, when and where can I find said town hall. And as of yet, I have not gotten a response. He has assured me that he holds regular town halls. He's very transparent. So if I get updates on when that is, I'll attend those, try to record those and share them as well. But for now, I'm going to be doing legislative updates, looking at the legislation he has put forward, using that IGA website, and try to make people more informed citizens. So if you're not in District 33, this may not be as interesting for you. If you're in the state of Indiana, it could be interesting. But we'll go through it anyway, and I'll try to let you guys know what's going on. So let's start off here with going to the Indiana General Assembly webpage. So this is the page that I was showing everyone how to use in my previous video. In this video, so far I'm looking at the older version. There is a newer version, but I'm just going to stick with the old version for now. They work the same. I'm just more familiar with this version of the page. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I want to note are some deadlines, some dates, kind of the schedule of what goes on in the Indiana General Assembly. So if you click here on session and go down to deadlines, that's the first place I'll direct you. So notable dates, starting off, of course, Monday, October 24th of 2022 is when senators may begin filing bills for the 2023 session, which we're in right now. It says senators can file no more than a total of 10 bills or joint resolutions. So that is good to know. Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022 is organization day for the 2023 session. And that's when representatives may begin filing bills. And then Monday, January 9th is the latest day session must reconvene. So on January 9th is essentially when session started. So the next important dates, January 11th, says senators may file only 2 bills per business day beginning today. January 12th of 2023 was the deadline for filing House bills, which means they should be done filing House bills now. That date has passed. And then Friday, January 13th was the deadline for filing Senate bills, and it couldn't be any later than 4 p.m. So all the bills should have been filed by now. Additionally, Tuesday, January 17th is filing of House vehicle bills. Those are essentially blank bills that they fill in after the fact, if I understand those correctly. I'm not a legislator. I'm just someone who tries to follow these things and tries to inform myself, and I'm trying to inform others. From there, there's a lot of other deadlines for third readings, things like that. I will probably be going into those in a future video instead of on this one. This one, I'm just wanting to cover, like I said, JD Prescott's bills that he's putting forward for District 33, and where those are currently. And I will be trying to do some updates to tell you where those have headed, what's happening with them. Last date I'm going to mention is the Saturday, April 29th, 2023, which is the last day for adjournment of both houses. So they need to be done on April 29th. So their session is essentially January 9th until April 29th. So not a terribly long work schedule there. And I will note that that is the last possible day they can adjourn. They can adjourn sooner if they feel like they're done. They did a great job. They're patting themselves on the back. We did everything we wanted to do or could do. We're finished. They can adjourn early. They did that actually this last session because it was an election year, and I think they were kind of in a hurry to kind of get out there and start campaigning. Stop working for the people and start working more for themselves because they want to make sure that they keep their jobs. So that's something to note. Okay. So from there, as I mentioned, I wanted to look at JD Prescott's legislation. So if we go up here, click on legislators, start typing in Prescott. Click on this, it'll take you to JD Prescott with his mailing address, phone number for the State House. If anybody needs to comment him, contact him. Make sure you're polite. But if you have questions, feel free to ask questions. So down here we have, again, I explained this in the last video if you haven't seen that, but this shows all the bills that Prescott has entered, authored, or co-authored. And as far as I know, unless they haven't finished populating this information, I believe the deadline, as we just looked at, is already passed. So he should no longer be filing any bills. So I believe this to be it. So this is a good time we can go ahead and run through these and kind of discuss what all District 33 Representative Prescott is working on at the State House. So let's go in order. We'll start with HB 1141. So the fun thing is every time you click on these, it pops you out of the screen you're on, and then I'm going to have to share the new screen. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Make sure I'm sharing. Okay, so here we are on House Bill 1141. So this is introduced House Bill, authored by JD Prescott. No co-authors here, which is not necessarily a bad sign, not really a great sign. Typically, you'll see, like, if a bill, if it's really promising, or if the party itself and the legislators are really pushing for it. Like, for instance, HB 1001 last year had like dozens of co-authors, and that one they definitely wanted to shove through. They worked on that one quite a bit and ended up getting that one passed. That's not to say this bill won't go anywhere, but time will tell, and I'll follow up and let you know what happens. So we'll look at just the digest for this. I looked at the bill latest version. This digest summarizes it pretty well. It's a cap on assessed valuation increase for homesteads. It limits the annual increase in assessed value of a homestead to 5% unless 1, ownership of the homestead changes, or 2, the increase results from physical changes to the homestead. It limits the increase in assessed value of a homestead over a 10-year period to 40%. Okay. So for people that don't understand what's going on here, so in Indiana, last session, I believe it was, the Indiana General Assembly, the Republican supermajority, we have a super duper Republican majority in our state, worked on a piece of legislation which lowered the property tax cap to what they described as historic lows. They're pretty excited about it. There's a lot of campaigning on it. A lot of people talking about it. The problem with that here in Indiana is that though the overall property tax percentage dropped, this year the assessments were through the roof for pretty much everybody. It was across the board. So say your house was $100,000 and it was at, I'm going to make up numbers here for ease. Let's say it's $100,000 and the property tax rate was 5%, which is not what it was. I'm using as an example for simple math. Well, they're like, oh, well, we dropped the tax to 4.5%. So your property tax bill is going to be way lower. Well, the problem is now they're reassessing properties. The $100,000 property is now assessed at $200,000. Again, random example. But that 0.5% didn't even come close to reducing your property taxes. They're still through the roof. So I don't necessarily disagree with this bill. I think it's interesting that you try to do this to lower taxes. But the lack of co-authors makes me nervous. I'm thinking that my guess is they'll shoot it down. Maybe I'm wrong. I believe there's also a Senate bill that's similar on the Senate side that I think caps it to 10%. I don't know if that one's going to get legs or if maybe that one might be the one they're going to get behind. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that one and give you an update on it if I can find it. This tax has a couple exceptions. That's one, if ownership of the homestead changes, so someone else buys it, they might reassess it and it might be more than 5%. Or the second, increase results from physical changes to the homestead. So you got 1,000 square foot house, you build it into a 4,000 square foot house. It's probably the assessed value is going to go up way more than 5%. So that's all this bill's saying. It limits the increase in assessed value of a homestead over a 10-year period to 40%. So we'll see where that goes. So far, if we go look at the bill actions, let's see if this kicks me out of this page. No, it doesn't. So you can see action on 110. They said it was authored. On same day, got a first reading, and it was referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. So that's how these always work. They always get they don't always. They typically get assigned to a committee. Then the committee will review, they'll vote on it, and then push it forward. And sometimes it gets assigned to a committee, and the committee never has a hearing on it, and it can die there in committee, or it could be voted down, or it could be pushed forward. So far it's scheduled. It's referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. So I'll have to follow up and see if they have scheduled anything. Well, we can check that right now, see if it's scheduled. So 1141, let's look at Ways and Means. I'll go ahead and share this other page. Don't know why I wouldn't just go ahead and look at it right now. So here's the Ways and Means schedule. So I just clicked on that button on the last page for Ways and Means. It takes me here, and it gives you their schedule here. So 1141 we're looking for. Let's see if it's scheduled. Looks like they have no bills scheduled to be heard yet. So we'll have to follow that. Oh, here we go. January 18th. We've got some that are scheduled to be read, not 1141. So it has not yet been scheduled to be heard. So we'll see if it gets a hearing or not. But sorry, here we are. Yes, it has not been scheduled to be heard yet. Now I'm actually sharing. This is all they've got scheduled on the 18th, these 5 bills. So let's go back to look at Prescott's further legislation and see his next bill, which will be, just taking my sweet time here, 1142. This is law enforcement recordings. Okay, so House Bill 1142. This one is authored by Representative JD Prescott, co-authored by Wendy McNamara, Mitch Gore, and Steve Bartels. Our digest here is law enforcement recordings. It provides that the direct cost that a state or local agency may charge for providing a copy of a law enforcement recording includes labor costs incurred to 1, obscure non-disclosable information in the recording, and 2, perform an administrative review of the recording to determine if all non-disclosable information has been obscured. Provides that if a court issues an order for disclosure of a law enforcement recording, any copy of the recording must be made by the public agency. So this one's interesting. We talked about this one on Bilbrey Live last night, the 11/15, the January 15th episode. This one is interesting because it directly stems from, it clearly directly stems from an argument that occurred in Winchester between Joshua Civic Duty Kimbrell um, and the sheriff's office in Winchester, wherein they were attempting to charge Civic Duty for this because he had requested some body cam footage, and he was told that he would have to pay extra for the efforts of obscuring the non-disclosable information. Well, they have to obscure that information. For example, in the video, I think there were minors, so they had to blur their faces. And by doing so, it would, if charged for that labor, would astronomically increase the price of the body footage. This is very problematic in my mind, and in Josh's mind as well, and Christopher. We all agreed on this one because, for one, by law they have to obscure that, but it cuts down on transparency. So the example that Josh gave was, say you get pulled over by a police officer, and you ask him why he pulled you over, and he says, "None of your business. I just felt like pulling you over. I had no reason to pull you over." And you say, "Well, that you can't do that." And he says, "Oh yeah, well here's a seatbelt ticket. Deal with it because I don't like you. I just don't like you. I'm gonna give you a seatbelt ticket." And say that seatbelt ticket is $80. I think was Josh's example. So then, to defend yourself, you go to request that body cam footage. And say you got pulled over in front of a school, or you got a kid in the car, and they're saying, "Well, we have to obscure the kid's face. We have to do all this work on it." They could end up charging you $150, was the example Josh gave, for this body cam footage. In that case, it just doesn't make mathematical sense. It's like, well, then I'll just pay the $80 ticket and have gotten hosed, opposed to paying $150 just to try to defend myself. So this bill's pretty problematic. It also, in a way, it's kind of double dipping because the officials who are providing the documentation and who are editing it are already being paid by the taxpayer. Now you're paying additional fees for someone who's already being paid. So it's almost like an additional tax and fee, and it's, in my opinion, it's very anti transparency. Um, I don't love this bill. I hope this bill doesn't go anywhere, but there's no telling. We've got some co-authors on there, so they may be pushing. If you have an issue with this bill, or you don't want to see this go through as well, then I would suggest you email, call Representative JD Prescott, Representative Wendy McNamara, Representative Mitch Gore, and Representative Steve Bartels, and let them know that you have an issue with it. Please, if you do, be respectful, and just let them know, hey, I'm so and so, and they don't have to be your representative to contact them. If they're on this bill, then you have every right to tell them, hey, don't do this, because it's going to affect everyone in the state of Indiana. And if you're in the state of Indiana, I would say contact them and tell them, hey, I don't agree with this. So that's just my opinion on it. I'm going to check bill actions real quick. So far, authored, co-authored, and a couple other people added as co-authors on the 12th. It was referred to the Committee on Government and Regulatory Reform. I'm going to check real quick here. Please be patient with me, and I'll see if it's going to be heard yet, if they've got it on the schedule yet. 1142 is not on the schedule to be heard yet in that committee. So we'll see where this one goes. I'm hoping nowhere, but we will find out. So let me go ahead and let's go back to the next bill, which is going to be HB 1143. Let me go ahead and pull this one up for you. Oh my gosh. Okay. So make sure I'm sharing. So this is the next bill. It's introduced House Bill 1143, authored by Representative JD Prescott. No co-authors on this one, just JD Prescott. So this bill is the designation of the state nickname. Anyone who's from Indiana, and most people from outside of Indiana, know that we're the Hoosier State. People from Indiana are called Hoosiers. Well, this bill provides that the Hoosier State is designated as the official nickname of the state of Indiana. Provides that the designation is to recognize and memorialize the legacy of Harry Hoosier. Make certain findings in recognizing Harry Hoosier as the namesake of the Hoosier State. Pardon me. This bill is completely pointless. I think we have much bigger concerns in the state right now. For example, Indiana has one of the highest gas taxes in the country. District 33 is on the Ohio border. If you just drive for 15 minutes over the Ohio border to buy gas, at times you can save 50 cents a gallon on gasoline because their tax rates are not as oppressive as Indiana's taxes, which is absurd to me considering we have, like we said, a super duper Republican majority. I would think we would cut these taxes. We get a lot of arguments from the state house when you do ask. If someone does answer, there are a few that do answer, but Jim Lucas is one who will talk about it, and his argument is generally, well, how do we fund things? Where's the money come from? We need the tax money. So a bit of a non sequitur. I'm a little off track there, but this bill's frustrating me. It's very pointless. There's also a lot of debate as to officially where the Hoosier State name actually came from, where Hoosier came from. There's a lot of stories. So this bill is also trying to designate and recognize something that I don't believe is officially recognized as the namesake of the state. Way more important things to be working on. This is one of those bills that representatives will try to do, and Prescott's trying to do. It's a little narcissistic in just trying to make sure that you get your name in the history book as the person who officially nicknamed Indiana the Hoosier State. It's always been the Hoosier State. We know it's the Hoosier State. This is really kind of a pointless bill. It's a little frustrating that taxpayers are paying for something like this, or paying to have this work done. But it is what it is. We'll see if this goes anywhere. But I'm surprised there's no co-authors on it. So far, it has been authored and has been referred to the Committee on Government and Regulatory Reform. So I'll check really quickly, see if it's scheduled there. No, it is not on the schedule to be heard in the committee. If it's not heard in the committee, it doesn't go anywhere. So we'll see what happens with 1143. Okay, on to our next bill, which is going to be 1144. Now, a lot of these, I wish Representative Prescott would be more transparent and would actually talk to us on these, because I'm kind of curious where he's coming from on some of these, but I'll give you my opinions and tell you about these anyway. So this House Bill 1144, introduced House Bill, authored by JD Prescott. Again, no co-authors. Digest: state employment of probation officers. Okay. Provides that a probation officer is a state employee whose salary is 1, fixed by the appointing court in accordance with minimum compensation requirements adopted by the Judicial Conference of Indiana, and 2, paid from the state general fund. Allows a county, city, or town to pay a probation officer a salary supplement in the unit's salary ordinance. So I'm not really sure where this one came from, or who recommended this or steered this Representative Prescott's way. Seems like kind of a bookkeeping type bill. We're just trying to make sure that probation officers' salaries, the way I'm reading this, are following a certain standards here, and that county, city, or town can give them a salary supplement through ordinances to pay them what they need to pay them. Really not sure where this bill came from. Check the actions really quickly. Again, authored by Prescott, had first reading, was sent to courts and criminal code committee. Let me check for you real quick and see if this is going anywhere. See if they're hearing it. There is no hearing for this bill either. So I'm not sure what's going on right there. I'm going to try to pull up the latest revision and see what actually changed. It looks like, sorry, I know I'm not sharing this. I didn't pull it up. Looks like very, very little changed. Okay, state from the state general fund. Okay, so basically, it's changing probation officers to be more along the lines of a state employee paid from the state general fund as opposed to by the county. Is what this looks like. There's very little changes in the actual wording here. Oh, I am sharing this, so that's good. Yeah, so there's very few changes. Annually submit to the judicial conference. The salary is fixed for probation officers, circuit court. Yeah, so it's just helping the salaries on probation officers. So I don't have any huge comments on this one. I'll have to dig into this one more. This one didn't really catch my eye. And like I said, I don't know where this is coming from. I'm sure Prescott could give more information if he were willing to speak to the constituents, but that is not happening. Again, with no co-authors and it not having gone anywhere yet, not having a scheduled hearing in the committee, we'll see where it goes, but I will follow up with that and let you know. We have one more House bill I'm going to pull up and share with you. And this one's interesting. I have a guess on where this one came from. And this is House Bill 1145. Let me make sure I'm presenting. Okay. This one's pretty short and simple. This is introduced House Bill 1145. It was authored by Representative JD Prescott, co-authored by Elizabeth Rory. So they are the two representatives who share Delaware County, which would explain this one. Delaware County magistrate allows the judges of the Delaware Circuit Court to appoint a full-time magistrate. So that one's pretty cut and dry for me. I know that these two representatives had they did a public event back in January. I believe it was January or early January. Sorry, it's January now. Was it December? I think it was December. It's like a month ago or so. Either way, they did an event in Delaware County in Muncie. They talked to the mayor and a lot of people there. I'm guessing this came up with that. I wanted to attend that event, but it was not advertised very well. As far as I know, I had no idea what was happening until I saw an article in the paper later. It would have been good to ask about this or hear about what was happening with this piece of legislation. So I'll go ahead and look at bill actions. Authored, co-authored, referred to the Committee on Courts and Criminal Code. I think I just looked at that committee, but I'll check one more time and see if this one has a hearing scheduled. And no, it does not. So this is another one that has been authored, does not have a reading scheduled. A hearing in the committee scheduled. I don't believe any of these that we've looked at so far have. So a slow start, but we'll see what happens. Okay, and then the last one we've got here, authored by Representative Prescott, is a House joint resolution, not a House bill. I'm going to present this for you. Okay, this one's pretty simple as well. House Joint Resolution 1, introduced House resolution, authored by Representative JD Prescott, co-authored by Ryan Lauer. Digest removes the superintendent of public instruction from the list of office holders who shall discharge the powers and duties of the governor if the office of the governor and lieutenant governor are both vacant. This proposed amendment has been agreed to by one General Assembly. So what that means is I believe this one is so this would change the state constitution. So it has to be heard in multiple assemblies. It was introduced, I believe, last year. And has to be agreed upon again. So basically all it's saying is it's just like with the president, right? If the president can't hold office, the vice president takes over. The vice president can't do it, the speaker of the house takes over, et cetera, et cetera. It goes down the line. Well, in Indiana, the superintendent of public instruction is in that line. If something were to happen where the governor and the lieutenant governor can't hold the governor position, then the superintendent of public instruction would become the governor. So this bill would remove that. It's probably something that hopefully we never actually see make a difference, because it would be terrible if our governor and lieutenant governor, if they couldn't hold office, if something happened to both of them where they couldn't. But it's a bookkeeping thing. I don't have a huge issue with it. I mean, it is what it is, and we could use that cleaned up. So I'll look at the actions just because. Co-authored, as we said, referred to the Committee on Judiciary. See if they have a hearing scheduled for that. I'll check real quick. Not yet. I could see them doing this one if they approved it last year. I don't know why they wouldn't this year. It just hasn't been scheduled yet. So we will see what happens with that. So after that, those are all the bills and House Joint Resolutions authored by Representative JD Prescott, District 33. He has a couple that he has co-authored. I'm not particularly concerned about the co-authored bills. Those are really kind of symbolic. If anything, it doesn't mean that co-author doesn't mean that he showed up and said, oh, hey, we should do this, we should do that. Maybe he did, or maybe that whatever representative did. But it's more of, okay, I support this piece of legislation, so I'll put my name on it. Maybe I'll help you push it. I'll tell people, yeah, let's make this, let help you talk it out and try to get it through. But doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with the co-author. It's the author is the one who's actually working on it. The co-author is just kind of saying, hey, I support this bill. That looks good. So that right there is what Representative Prescott's been working on. I'm not sure why he is unwilling to come talk to the people, the constituents of District 33, and just tell them that himself. But if he's not going to do the job, I'll go ahead and do it for him and try to help people understand what's going on at the State House. I will be following up and letting you know as things develop. Hopefully I'll be doing these videos in a weekly series to let you know what's happening and any developments. But and I will continue to push and ask Representative Prescott to do some sort of town hall to let people know what's going on and to share this kind of information with them and give more insights than I can give. I'm not at the State House. All I can really do is kind of look this stuff up and talk through with you guys, let you know my thoughts and whatever inside information I may have, whatever people are telling me. But I don't really know what our actual representative is thinking or any amendments, things like that. So we'll see. If he does do a public town hall, we are hoping to record or stream it so that people can get that information and know. I know he's not fond of that. I've been told in town halls that I'm not allowed to record him. He doesn't want me sharing anything on social media. But, if it's in a public place, I have the right to record. So we'll try to do that. Otherwise, if you have any comments or suggestions, please let me know. If you would like to follow this saga and keep seeing what's going on, please feel free to like, subscribe, and click that bell so you get the reminders. And thank you very much, and have a great day.